course, Colonel Wilkerson, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Retired Army Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson. And we now are joined by Congresswoman Barbara Lee, Democrat from California. Congresswoman, I want to read to you an article from the New York Times that was just posted. President Obama is prepared to move ahead with a limited military strike on Syria, even with a rejection of such action by Britain's parliament and increasingly rest of Congress, and lacking an endorsement from the United Nations Security Council. Is it legal for the president to strike Syria without any kind of UN, international, or congressional backing?
Well, thank you, Chris. And let me say that the reason that we worked to send a letter with 54 members of Congress, Democratic members of Congress, to the president was to indicate, first of all, our unequivocal condemnation of the use of chemical weapons. I mean, that is something that is unacceptable, and we have to address that in a big way. However, there's no military solution. And in fact, the American people deserve to have members of Congress come in and debate the evidence, debate should we use force, and if we do use force, what the implications and the ramifications are.
Congresswoman, let me just stop you there, because I've heard members of Congress have talked about debate, consultation. My question to you is twofold. Should there be a vote, and is it legal for the president to order a strike in the absence of one?
The Constitution requires that any time we're going to engage in a war, and this is using military force, regardless of whether it's for 24 hours, 3 days, 4 days, we're committing actually a military encounter with another country. And I believe that Congress is required, based on our Constitution, that it's our legal requirement to debate this and to make a decision as to whether or not we want to send our tax dollars, first of all, our military hardware, and yes, military personnel, into a war zone. And Syria is a war zone. Also, we have to debate this because, Chris, you know that this could very well lead to a regional war, a regional conflict. And I'm not sure the American people are ready for that, but if that is something that our commander-in-chief and president thinks makes sense, then we must have a full debate. The American people must understand what is taking place, and in fact, we need to do that right away. Also, Chris, let me just say,
please,
the inspections process is in progress right now. We at least should understand what that's about and minimally not obstruct that process by using force at this point.
Very quickly, if there was a vote held tomorrow on whether the Congress would approve a strike of Syria, a la the vote held in the Parliament today, what do you think the vote would be?
Well, when you look at the fact that there's bipartisan opposition to the use of force, you know, it's hard to say what that vote would be, but I believe that there's no military solution, and I think many members who I've talked to don't believe that a military strike will accomplish anything, but would lead to more damage, more carnage, more violence, and in fact would not lead to a negotiated settlement and solution. And that's where we have to go, to a full diplomatic initiative, a negotiated settlement. Otherwise, we have a military strike, a vote to use force. What happens next week? What happens in 2 weeks? What if there are more chemical weapons that are used? This is very complicated, it's very dangerous. And so the president, I believe, is in a very difficult position, and Congress should be with him on whatever he does, and that's why we need to have a full congressional debate right away.
Congresswoman Barbara Lee, thank you so much. Joining me now is Muaz Mustafa, the executive director of the Syrian